going on in the world of crypto? Well, here to talk with me about that and other things is Rance Masheck and Chris Mercer, both from iVest Plus. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for being here. How are you having us?
Great to have you here. So let's start with a little bit about you describing iVest Plus and what it does, and a little bit about your background and how you got there.
All right. So starting a little bit of my background here, I've been in the financial market since the 90s. Started developing platforms in the early 2000s, ended up selling to TD Ameritrade, became part of that firm. In fact, was director of options trading there for about 4 years. And then decided that I wanted to go out and do my own thing again and develop some of the very things I wanted to do when I was there, but they wouldn't let us do. So we wanted some depth of information, some additional insights for people in their trading and how they can journal and get results of what's working for them and not and all that. So that's what we built with iVest Plus. We work with educators in the space, and we also have our own retail version called Market Gear at marketgear.com, and people can get a depth of research you just don't get from brokerage systems, and a tremendous amount of analytics about your own trading and your own results through automatic journaling capabilities, and that to give you insight in what's working and what's not working in your own style of trading, so you can then focus on those areas to improve. We've recently added crypto, and just like we did on the stock side, the breadth of information we have in crypto is really insightful to people, rather than just looking at just the chart and hoping one way or the other. And we're going to talk about a couple of those things today as well, and some insight into that as we talk about crypto today. So that's what we're about, creating platforms for people to get better insight in, for their own trading, as well as breadth of knowledge of what's out there about stocks, options, crypto.
Yeah. So just as a side note, I've always been impressed with what TD had done in terms of educating investors, retail investors, about options trading. I'm sure much of that credit goes to you. They really stood out among all the brokerage firms in that world, at least to my way of thinking.
Yeah, we had a program called Nuns to Ones, people that had zero option trading to get them to that first level of options experience. And we had a tremendous outreach program for that. And at the time I left TD Ameritrade, TD Ameritrade was responsible for about 25% of all retail option trades. So we did a great job at driving that forward. So,
yeah. Chris, eager to hear about your background and how you got to iVest Plus.
Oh, I've been around the industry for a while myself too. I've run an education business, teach people how to trade stocks, options, and futures and Forex. And that was back in the early 2000s, let's call it. I worked for a Forex brokerage firm for a while. That firm got acquired by a company called MB Trading, which was an online stock and options firm and futures firm. And then they in turn got acquired by Trade King, who got acquired by Ally Bank, which made it, we were the Ally Invest arm. And actually when I was, my primary job over there was helping find third-party solutions that we could connect to our accounts and have people give people other options for trading platforms, which is actually how I found Rance and iVest along the way several years ago. And I just thought the product was so amazingly well thought out that I ended up moving over to iVest full-time instead. So I really do like programming, watching programming. I've done a lot of, bug fixing concepts and all this stuff for platforms along the way. I just really like trying to help with the user experience. And like Rance said, I think the biggest thing with our platform is the analytics of your own data. Most brokers give you a P&L statement. Great, thank you. Now I know what I made, but it doesn't tell me how I got there. And the platform goes out of its way to show you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
Yeah. So let's dive into iVest Plus. When was it founded, and let's talk a little bit about the offerings.
So we were founded in 2013, and we've been driving forward since then. It's a lot of people in the retail traders may not be aware of us, but they probably are aware of a brand that uses us because we white label to a lot of educators, newsletter companies, and other content people within the industry. And what we really have done here is created a platform that, number one, is very highly visual. It makes the analytics very easy to do, And at the same time, like for example, for fundamentals, if you want to pour over a P&L statement and a balance sheet, we've got them, but most people don't go there because what we do is we visually lay out what's happening with the company on those key indicators, and people can make their decisions a lot quicker because of the ease of how we make the complex easy. I would say that's our real forte on the data. And then, as Chris mentioned, the ability to get levels of analytics into your own trading that you probably have never seen before. And that helps you improve in your results. In fact, our journaling, constantly we get comments about it's the single most important part of the platform for improving what people are doing, because just by using it, it automatically journals your activity for you and then gives you insight as to what's not working well for you that you can focus on and improve, and what is working well for you so you can keep doing more of those things. So that's a really the kind of driving force behind what we're about. And having worked at a brokerage firm and having seen the challenges that people had there, what we were able to do is really tackle those in a way that no way you could have done at a firm. And so that's why we created iVest to be able to go make those things happen.
Yeah. It sounds so fascinating. I'm thinking of, is it AI backed in terms of analyzing someone's trade to say?
There's a little bit, there's definitely a little bit of AI in analyzing what type of trades you're doing, how they came about. We also do ask users to input things like how they found the trade, where they found it, what the source was, and things like that. So it has that additional insight to then look at. Plus, you can tag it with whatever you want to tag it, and then it'll break down the tags and what your results are on that. So it uses some AI. And then just a tremendous amount of data mining of what someone's doing to be able to give them some good insight.
If you think about like Twitter and just the whole hashtagging world, right? That's kind of what it's based off of in a way, right? But the nice part is, we have a lot of, like, for example, a lot of options users, a lot of options traders, right? And it recognizes, what is it, 57 different options trades?
Actually, 87 now. Yeah, 87 different
87.
option trades.
So the minute you place the trade, it's already hashtagged it a certain type of option strategy. So now you can go through and say, whenever I ran a bull call spread, how did they do it? It'll total all those up for you instantly. You can separate them by all those, plus all the notes you can take and everything that goes with it.
Right. So will it go back and say, oh, you should have used a different strike price or a different
no, it won't tell you what you should have done. What it will do is you can go back in a playback mode and look at any position you had. And there's a back testing element. So you could say, oh, wait, what if I would have done this or would have done this? And you could compare that to what your actual results were. So you can try different strategies or different approaches around what you did and compare, well, would it have been better if I did this or that? So it does give you some, it doesn't tell you what you should have done instead, but it allows you to go back and use a back testing method to compare it. If you would have done something different, what those results would have been.
Yeah, so maybe my regret minimization is improved.
Right. There you go. Yep. And the other thing we've added recently is crypto and the depth of information on crypto. And I think one of the reasons we wanted to talk today was about that and some of what's going on, and especially with the sanctions in Ukraine and Russia and that. And it's been kind of insightful a little bit there on what we've been able to see in this, and look forward to sharing some of that today as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about your entry into the world of crypto. On your website, it talks about having a full suite of indicators, over 50 to choose from. Talk more about that.
So one of the things that has, when people start getting into crypto and you look again, what the exchanges offer you, largely charting, maybe a little depth of market. But what we do is we track things like size of trades that are happening and where they're coming from. So we can look at what the concentration of big holders are. For example, right now in Bitcoin, it's about 11% of the holders are large holders. Yet in Ethereum, it's like 40%. Right. So we look at that. We also look at where it's trading. Right now, Ethereum is trading Eastern countries, Western countries about the same. Yet in the Bitcoin, this has actually shifted a little bit, where now it's about 60% the West, and it used to be pretty balanced, right? So you see where it's trading, you see inflows and outflows. You see, of the people holding Bitcoin, what percentage of them are profitable, some analytics on whether it's bullish, bearish, or neutral. Like right now, we're looking at, Ethereum's a little bit on the bullish side, but Bitcoin's kind of neutralized, looking at several different, about a half a dozen different fundamental indicators, as well as chart activity to weigh that out. So it gives you a lot more information than you're going to get at your average exchange to help make better decisions. So, one of the things, for example, that we see here is that we're seeing, while right now it's saying a little bit neutral, obviously cryptos in general, certainly Bitcoin kind of being one of the biggest there, have seen bearish activity. But bearish activity means that people that are in it to make money on the coin, I'd hate to say investing, more speculating with it, have taken a hit. But there's also the other element of it, which is people using it to transact, right? So there's two different parts to this. The investor, speculator trading game, and then also the transaction. I mean, it's the same thing in Forex, right? You get countries or companies moving blocks of goods from country to country, and they're using Forex as a way to manage that process. Yet you also have people just trading in Forex to make money on currencies, right? So same thing here in Bitcoin. And what we're seeing is there's a large amount of activity in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, all that were, and Tether's tied to the US dollar, so it's a little bit more stable. But we're seeing a lot of transactions there. And what really comes to light with this, I mean, first of all, there was a tremendous outpouring of people donating cryptocurrencies to Ukraine to help them out. I mean, millions and millions of dollars, right? And we're also seeing that some frustration in the sanctions that have been going on and not having quite the level of impact that they would like to see in Russia, against Russia. And, I just saw an article in Bloomberg today about, Russia's still managing to sell about $800 million a day of oil. And, one of the things that's happening is, there's these Russian ships, these tankers with the fuel that are out at sea, offloading it onto different ships that are allowed to go into these countries because of sanctions and all that. The Russian ships can't. So they're doing this. Well, how is that transacting? How is that being paid for? And one of the things that, with the amount of transactions we're seeing in cryptocurrencies right now, it's pretty evident that there's a certain amount of that that's happening. And, there's this stuff about, well, it's more traceable than it's ever been. Yeah, but it's also, with cash, they call it laundering. In crypto, they call it tumbling. But it's literally, there's ways to be able to hide who you're doing business with. Basically by you putting money out into this tumbling method, it tumbles several times before it hits the destination. By the time it hits the destination, there's no clue who it came from, right? And so those things that are happening out there to get around some of the sanctions, it's pretty apparent. And it's definitely been a frustration that while the Russian people have been impacted, with all of these brands that have left, these companies that have left, that's had an economic impact on the Russia as a whole. The war machine, which is being fed largely by oil, is still pulling $800 million a day that we know of, right? Because with crypto, it's harder to tell. And we also hear these things, and these ships that are offloading and moving stuff around and all that. So we see that crypto is, it's really apparent that crypto is being used for some of that.
Yeah, I certainly want to talk more about that, but I want to go back to this, what you mentioned about being able to identify whether a crypto, ETH, BIT, whatever it might be, is bullish, neutral, or bearish, and what's being used to drive that analysis. Is it just trading activity? I mean, obviously,
yeah. So three of the key ones as we look at network growth, network growth, right? Is there net flow in or out? The percentage of activity that's being done with larger transactions, And then we also look at the bid and ask volume imbalance on this. And through these and through looking at the different exchanges and tracking the inflow to those exchanges versus outflow to those exchanges, and then where those exchanges are located, and then the holders in those exchanges, whether they're larger holders or not. So this combination of all of this that goes through analytics. Excuse me. Now, those are usually a day delayed because you get the transactions of a day and we have to process it through algorithms and that to come up with this. So we're usually 1 day behind in some of those analytics just because you have to gather it from all the different exchanges. But those are the type of things we're looking at, not just current price action to determine whether or not it happens to be bullish or not, because you could see a movement down in I mean, just like you can in a stock, you can see stocks drop without necessarily the big boys starting to bail out yet, right? It's just the driver force. So you want to kind of watch that and make sure that that balance is there. So those are some of the things that we look at to make sure that, we have a clearer picture of what's going on with crypto. And then of course, where those are, so you know whether the activity is happening. We're working to get more detailed on this, but right now it's pretty much east versus west on this. And with what we've been seeing on the shift in this, it again just points to, we know that certain activity is happening with crypto in Ukraine. We hear about the donations being made. We hear about what's being done there. We've heard about some countries raising funds through crypto to literally buy drones to give to Ukraine, and that. But you see those type of activities. But then with some of the other stuff you're seeing, we know that it's way beyond just that, and that's why we're saying that just it's just very apparent that there is activity going on and tumbling going on just because the amount of movement that's happening that's not really impacting price. It's just tumbling.
Well, let's also not forget too, by the way, the most of the exchanges that offer charting, whether it's on their mobile app or whatever, they're pretty basic charts, right? I mean, it's a price chart, like sometimes market depth. So I think the other biggest thing to focus on is, we already had a platform that did, technical trading tools that people use on a chart, on a stock chart or on a futures chart or on a Forex chart. And so adding those tools to the symbols of the cryptos was kind of obvious. I mean, it's not automatic for us. We just had to plug in the data and go, right? But now what have we got? We've got, 60 some indicators that you can use for your trading. So guess what? Crypto is like every other market. If it works a certain, technicals don't always work 100% of the time, but if it's something that works a certain percentage of the time, you're going to find that it still works the same way in crypto. And we've got all those tools on there. You don't see, I'm not going to mention names of exchanges, but you're not going to see that on most of these exchanges and in their very, very, very simplified mobile apps.
Yeah. Right.
So in terms of the average investor accessing this information, is it a subscription service or is it
Yeah, so we offer it as a subscription service, and with some of the educators, they package in with some of their education. In our case, with our retail version, which is marketgear.com, it's a subscription, and we are about to release the trading capabilities with crypto as well. Right now, it is on the crypto side is a quoting and research platform with the trading coming imminent within the next couple of weeks. We'll release that. We're in test right now, and we'll be doing that. And you'll be able to hook up to different exchanges. We're not a brokerage. We're not an exchange. We connect to these different ones, like, for example, in the equity side, E-Trade, Ameritrade, Ally, these different ones that, Schwab, so on, that we can connect to. The same thing's going to happen on the crypto side. We'll have multiple that people can connect to trade wherever they want and just be able to use our platform to manage that process, get additional research and additional insight into their trading through that process.
Well, and the other way to think about that too is, if it's rare, but let's say any one of those stock brokerages, they might go down for a day or they might have a problem, right? So a lot of our customers have an E-Trade account and an Ameritrade account. And if something happens to go wrong, that's okay. It doesn't affect our platform and they can switch to the other account and keep trading for the day. You can keep yourself from getting in trouble. On the crypto side, what that's going to mean as we add some of the different exchanges, and each of them's a little unique, is guess what? They don't all trade the same symbols. So you're going to be able to have one location where you can do your research, and what our platform shows you which brokerage or which exchanges trade each of the coins. And now you can go through and, attach an account for multiple exchanges and trade them all from one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of these exchanges, especially ones that are tied to brokers, that might only support 20 coins to trade, or in the case of a couple of larger ones, 100 or so. But we have a much bigger flow than that. We have over 1,000 available to be able to quote and look at, and then you can see exactly as Chris was saying where they're available to be able to trade. So, for example, if you wanted to trade Doge, I was caught up in the Doge moments on Saturday Night Live with Elon and talking about that, and jumped into it. Well, the place that I primarily had for my crypto wasn't offering at that, but immediately I could see where it was, and was able to trade at that other, at the other exchange. So it is kind of handy to be able to see that. You can also see quotes, because the quote's not always the same for even Bitcoin at the different exchanges. So you can see the differences and be able to identify that within our platform as well.
Right. The other thing, when we've talked to other folks in the crypto space, they often make mention of how important community is to their coins and tokens. On your website, you know that you can help folks find communities of traders talking about the coins on Reddit and other social networks. You care to talk more about that, like how important that is?
Yeah. So what we do within the platform itself, when you bring up any coin, it will show you the list of websites and the list of social places to connect. So, for example, on Bitcoin, we have the subreddit page, the Facebook page, Twitter. There's also bitcointalk.org. There's all these. So wherever those different social places are, with whatever coin you look at, we'll have links to it's forum.ethereum.com for that one, or .org. So there's a Discord channel for Ethereum, right? So we track all of these different social outlets and link directly to them from within the platform. You can click, it'll open up a new tab for you to be able to go directly into, Ethereum's Discord channel if you want, and be able to join that. So it's a nice resource to know where that activity is. And then we monitor it to make sure that there's decent activity there, right? So that, we don't, if there's something that there's, sometimes you'll see a lot of just pushing a coin versus really talking about what's going on. And we kind of tend to pull those down and have but the social part is a real important piece. It is. And, for example, on we talked just briefly about Elon before starting today, and I was watching Saturday Night Live, and he was talking about, it was the Mother's Day episode, and he was giving his mom up on stage and talking about the gift he has for her. And, oh yeah, it's a whole bunch of Dogecoin. And, by the end of the show, Doge was down. So, I got in right at I bought into that hype. But if you look at the social side of it, it was pretty clear that it was just the hype, right? And so it was, it can be really helpful to have that. I think right now, if you look at what some of the conversations are around crypto on some of these social sites, you're seeing, some of the concern about what's going on with it. And some good insight about the long haul of that, which I think is it's pretty apparent by those and by just what you're seeing in the adoption overall, that crypto's here, man. It's not going away. It's not. It's going to be here for a while. Yeah,
it may come down to less coins, though. It may come down.
It may come. Well, that I think will happen, right? You're not. I mean, there's different celebrities trying to pop up a new coin and all that stuff. I think it's going to distill down to a core set of reliable coins to work with. But it is. I mean, you get countries now that have adopted it as a way to transact, right? And as an official thing. So it's here, and that's kind of, you see that on the social side as well.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the cross currents. I obviously, what Jamie Dimon has said is well known. I was just talking to Nobel laureate Bill Sharp, who scratches his head when asked about crypto and its use and value. He says, "I can value a stock. I don't know what the price earnings ratio is of a cryptocurrency."
There is absolute truth to that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, if you're going to trade crypto, you need to keep a tighter eye on it that you would on stock, on what's going on. And, some of those additional indicators that we have, you can start to see a little bit of how things are moving away, and you might want to get out at that point. So, you have to keep a shorter leash on it if you're going to trade crypto than you would if you were in stock. At the same time, the fact that it's here and being more and more adopted, it's going to be there and able to, to trade. Right.
But here's what I would also say back to that. What's the price to earnings ratio on the US dollar?
Well, right.
That's That's fair, but that's fair. So let's talk about the long term. I guess one thing that happened in the news recently that caught my attention was Fidelity saying that they would soon allow 401k plan participants to invest in crypto in their 401k plans, which is certainly contrary to what the Labor Department has issued with their guidance.
Mm-hmm. I think that just goes, well, first of all, the Labor Department, the federal government as a whole is a lag. I mean, they resisted it. And then now finally it's starting to become part of monetary policy and being, so they came kicking and screaming to the table. They don't like this because they don't have the same controls. They don't, so obviously they're going to be resistant to it. And I think that resistance has caused them to be behind the curve. When you have companies like Fidelity, which is really a fairly conservative firm as a whole compared to some of the other brokers out there, and that are allowing it to be used in that way in a 401k and a retirement plan. That starts to shift that. You've got there's now futures out on Bitcoin, right? So it's becoming more of a mainstay. Well, still somewhat fringe compared to Apple and Amazon and so on, but within the equity side. But it's becoming more of a integrated piece of the financial markets, and I think that just says a lot about its staying power through this as well. So, you're going to get the hype and the climbing of a coin that's all exciting and all that, and if you happen to ride that wave, awesome. But at the end of the day, it's going to be out there. It's going to be a tradable asset. It allows you to do some things you can't do with equities, and you certainly can't do with the US dollar. And those things are attractive and will continue. And, the idea of, I was asked the other day on an interview about, won't there be a lot of, kind of nefarious people doing illegal activity, using Bitcoin? I said, you know what? Prior to cryptocurrencies coming up, the US dollar was the drug dealers, currency of choice, right? And the reality is it allows transactions to be able to happen in ways without government fingers on that. Does it mean that you're a bad player if you want to do that? Not necessarily. It's a tool that's out there that you can do this with. And does it allow some of the other stuff to happen? Certainly it does, as we're seeing with getting around some of the sanctions. But which really speaks to its staying power a little bit. The other thing that's happened too, and I think this is an important thing to recognize, is that when this happened, and all of the hacking that's been going on, all this stuff, and there's been some problem with certain coins, but the primary coins have upheld really well through this stress test of what's gone on with the war and the movement of funds trying to get around some of the sanctions and all that. Yet there hasn't been a breakdown of the blockchain capability within this with, again, the primary coins. There's been certain hacking, certain things, and it's one of the dangers of an unestablished coin. But it's kind of shown a pretty good results in the stress test of what's gone on here. Yeah. And I think that also speaks to its staying power.
We've mentioned Elon Musk a couple times. Any other thoughts about what Elon Musk has done for or against the world of crypto?
You know what? I'll tell you what. I have a Tesla Model X, and I am a huge fan of that vehicle. But I wish that he would just do his job, stay with his core competency. I mean, let's go to take it to Mars. Let's get the internet around the globe. Let's do these things that he's focused on. Twitter is not where he should be putting his hands. I think that Tesla has taken a hit partly because he's had his eye on other stuff, and they've honestly they've grown tremendously. They've done a lot of great stuff. They've the fact that you've got the same technology being used to build the rockets is being used for the body of the Cybertruck. And, stay with your core competencies, stay where you should be. Yeah. You're not going to revolutionize rockets. Okay, fine. Revolutionize vehicles and, but Twitter, come on, that's a distraction that I don't think he needs. And I think he ought to stay a little bit more out of the political forays and just focus on his technology and what he can do there. That's my opinion. How it's going to play out for him in crypto. You know what? He can move. He can. I mean, we're not going to accept Bitcoins for buying Teslas anymore. The Bitcoin took a hit right now, and they're rethinking it. It goes back. So he can certainly have an impact on through the news cycle on it. And it's something to watch and something to take advantage of, ride that. Yep. But I wish he would just do his job and stay at the core things that he's good at,
There.
I think he's gotten a little too, I don't know. He's God complex. I don't know, something. I wish he would just, go back to other stuff. So anyway.
So no conversation about crypto would be complete without talking about NFTs. Thoughts?
NFTs.
There's a lot of disappointed people.
Right?
I think that NFTs were riding on the coattail of what was happening with crypto and hasn't. I think there's a place for it in certain situations, but I don't really have a lot of faith in it right now. I don't play in that space. I read on it. I try to keep up to date on it. But I think it's a real dangerous game right now. It's not stabilized enough, and it's not, it's like Bitcoin. If people are interested in Bitcoin, the more and more come play with Bitcoin. With an NFT, it's an individual item. I just don't think it's as a smarter place to play as cryptos themselves.
Yeah,
that's my thought on it, and I'm sure that there are those that absolutely disagree with that, but I just don't think it's stable enough yet that I'd want to be putting my money into that game.
Well, it's always good to get an informed opinion about these things.
Well, you know what? I was that way with when Bitcoin first came out. I wasn't exactly on that. I missed that first part of that wave too, so I could certainly be wrong there. But there's some definite core differences that I think drive that opinion. So, so I don't know, Chris, if you have any additional things you want to add there.
No, I'm going to go online and say I don't think that's ever going to turn into anything like the crypto stuff did.
Yeah,
not to that level. I agree.
Yeah. All right, so we covered a lot of ground. Anything we missed, or anything that just bears reemphasizing before we wrap up?
I think that you just keep an eye on what's going on with crypto. It's a great place to play. Be well informed on what you do. Don't do it blindly. Don't do it with just a chart and simple info. Make sure you know what you're playing with. Right.
And the website is iVest plus spelled out.com, right? To go.
iVestplus.com. Yep.
That's our corporate site. And then we also have the retail site of the platform for retail users, which is marketgear.com.
Great. All right, Rance, Chris, can't thank you enough for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with our viewers today. It's been greatly appreciated.
Glad to be able to do that. Thank you so much.